Hi guys and welcome. I am Enigmius and this is episode 3 of the Builder's Guide to Feed the Beast. Today we're going to be looking at power tools. Power tools are very exciting. I always love the power tools. It's one of the things that I gun for as soon as I start a new world. Every time I start a new world, I'm not happy until I've got my diamond drill. But today we're going to take a look at all of the power tools that you're going to be looking at in the early game that can make your life just that much easier. You can spend ultimately less material replacing tools that wear out. And just, it's nice having that arsenal of tools at the ready. You don't have to worry about whether or not you need to make a new one to get done what it is that you want to do. So you can see that I'm in my test world here. This is my hovel with the portal. And one of the things that I wanted to do is in the last episode, we talked about the machines that you'll want to use to get started, the basic machines, but I feel like I did kind of a mediocre job of illustrating how that might come together for you in a brand new world. So here we are in the dirt hovel. And these are my machines. Now you can see it's fairly clean looking. It's not messy. There's not cables running all over the place. It's actually fairly appealing to walk up to. And I just kind of want to go through each step here and talk about why I did the things that I did. Now, first of all, here's a geothermal generator. This is what we were talking about the last episode. We looked at a lot of different solutions for getting lava because, you know, for all the time that you're going to put into it in the early game, the geothermal generator offers the biggest bang for the buck in terms of low maintenance to high yield. There's better solutions in the long term, but this is where we like to get started. In all my worlds, this is where I kind of start off. But underneath that, we have a battery box. Now I'm a big proponent of having a storage device like this bat box between your generators, whatever they happen to be, and the machines that are consuming power. And the reason why I like that is it's sort of a buffer. So if for whatever reason, let's say the geothermal generator ran out of lava, you still got a 40,000 EU reserve before your machines stop running. In addition, as soon as the battery box starts running low, as soon as it drops below 40,000, the generator will kick in to top it off. Now, I don't have any lava in this right now, which is why it's not doing it. I've got some lava cells here. But it just makes for a much more smooth transition between your power generation and the things that are consuming that power. So that's what I've got here. And then I've got, these are the 4 basic machines we talked about. There's the electric furnace, the macerator, the compressor, and the extractor. The 4 basic machines that no Feed the Beast beginner should be without. And by beginner, I mean anyone who's starting a brand new world. Now I'm just going to dig out this sandstone here so I can show you the way the wiring comes together. It's very simple. I'm sure there's someone going to say that I could have moved this back here so that it wasn't going over and stuff, the min-max, and that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of truth to the fact that that general rule and the habit that you want to get into is to run the least amount of cable possible to get power from your storage to your machines, because depending on what kind of cable you're using, you do lose a certain amount of power for every block or every so many blocks that the signal, you know, the power passes through before it gets to its destination. So it's a good idea to keep that in mind when you're setting things up. In this case, I'm happy with the way it's set up. Now, I've got the geothermal generator directly above. It's adjacent to the battery box, which means it doesn't need wires to send power from the generator to the bat box. But one of the things that you want to keep in mind with the battery boxes, with the transformers, it doesn't matter what texture pack you're using, there will be 5 sides that can receive power and 1 side that will send. Now with transformers, you can switch that around. I'm not even going to get into it. As a general rule, 5 sides receive, 1 side sends. So this you can see here in Sphax. You can see, actually, I'll just break that off. There you go. So it's green. And then if I come over here, this is gray. And over here, this is gray. And if I get on top, the top one will be gray, the bottom one will be gray, the one in the back would be gray. So there's the 1 side that's sending power and the 5 that receive. And you want to keep that in mind, particularly when we're working with transformers, because if you hook things up wrong, machines tend to explode. Just fair warning. With the bat box, it's actually pretty straightforward. And this leads us to one of the reasons why I decided to look at this here is because it leads us to probably one of the most important power tools that you're going to want to make. And ironically, it's the electric wrench. It's not the drill. It's not the chainsaw. It's the electric wrench. And the reason for this is because if you just take a mining pick or a drill and break one of these machines, if you'll recall when we made the macerator, for example, let me just pull up that recipe. Macerator. Machine block. That's one of the components that went into the recipe, and then you've got flint, you've got cobblestone, you've got an electronic circuit. If you just use a drill or a mining pick to pull up one of these machines, there's a chance that that's what's going to drop is a machine block. You're not going to get the machine that you built. You'll have to go and rebuild it, add the extra ingredients above and beyond the machine block to rebuild the machine. So one of the solutions to that is you can make a wrench, just any old wrench. Actually, it's got to be the industrial craft wrench, but let's take a look. I believe it's this guy. Yeah. You can take one of these guys. You can make this. It's 6 bronze ingots, which are not hard to make. 3 copper and 1 tin in a crafting table makes 4 bronze ingots. It's not a big deal. You can make one of these guys, and then when you right-click on one of these machines, there's a 90% chance that you'll recover the machine in its pristine state. It won't break, but there's still a 10% chance that all you're going to get is a machine block. That's why we look at the electric wrench. Now, we're going to go into the controls here, options, controls, just so you can see exactly this setting that I'm referring to. Mode switch key is the one that you want. Mine is set to F. I believe it defaults to M, which conflicts with Ray's minimap. So just know, mode switch key is the setting that you want. Make sure that you've got it set to a keybind that's going to work. Remember what it is, and then when you've got your electric wrench selected, you press and hold that key and you right click. And you can see in the chat box down in the lower left corner, lossless wrench mode disabled. If I keep it pressed, the mode switch key pressed and right click again, lossless wrench mode enabled. What that does when it's enabled is when I right click on any of these machines, it guarantees that I will get the machine back in its pristine condition. There's no chance whatsoever that the machine will get dropped as a machine block. So that's why this is so important. It may not seem like that big of a deal for these kinds of machines, but when you start getting into things like tier 2 machines and MFSUs, mass fabricators, anything that you invest a lot of materials in that you really don't want to break, knowing that you can extract it and move it when you need to without breaking it is very, very comforting. So that's definitely one of the power tools you're going to want to make, no exceptions. Now, the other tools are a little bit more fun. I mean, the wrench is a peace of mind, but it's a wrench. I mean, come on, how much fun could it possibly be? So we're going to get one tip: never run around your facilities with the wrench on your bar and selected, because you have a tendency to accidentally knock machines out of place with it. So moving on, let's do this one because it's probably the least used of the machines. That's the electric hoe. Go ahead, have your chuckle. It's fine. I actually use this fairly regularly in my world right now because I'm not using forestry to manage my wheat farms. But I do need a wheat farm for the seeds, to make seed oil, for impregnated sticks, to make frames for my beehives that I suck at using. So I do use the electric hoe. It's a relatively inexpensive recipe. We've made these before. Electronic circuit, we made in the machines. Rechargeable battery. There's nothing complicated about that. But as rechargeable tools go, this is probably, where is it? Yeah, this is probably the least expensive, and it's nice to have on hand if you do need a hoe for whatever reason, to not have to worry about whether you're going to need to make one, whatever. So electric hoe, I made it because I can. Electric tree tap. Now, this is one you will be grateful to have. For whatever reason, I'm reading in the wiki, forestry was supposed to have a rubber tree farm, but I guess it's not in the game anymore, and some other tree farm is apparently going to work just as well, but I don't care. This is the way I learned to look after my rubber trees and get the sticky resin. This is the way I'm going to keep doing it. It's the electric tree tap. Recipe is, again, actually very simple, inexpensive. The rechargeable battery, the electronic circuit, and a tree tap. Yes, you have to use a brand new tree tap. You can't use your raggedy old one that's about to break. But what I've found is that the wooden tree taps, when you're using them, they don't last very long, and they seem very expensive at 5 planks. I don't do enough logging to want to throw away 5 planks every time I go to gather some sticky resin. So make one of these. As long as you've got energy to run it, you don't have to worry about replacing it. Electric tree tap, you will get use out of this. And that leaves us with the ones that you're going to use on a pretty much consistent basis. Now, I'm using the advanced diamond drill, that's spelled wrong, and the advanced chainsaw. And I'll tell you just up front that these use twice the power of the diamond drill and the chainsaw. So I'm not suggesting that you go all the way up to advanced, but diamond drill and chainsaw definitely are a lot of good fun. Put that there. We'll take a look at it. Now, this is where Greg Tech sort of changes things, and this is why I wanted to go into the Nether in the last episode and talk about where you could find materials to make a blast furnace. If you look at the mining drill recipe, circuit, rechargeable battery, and 5 refined iron. Under Greg Tech, this refined iron would be steel. So that's one of the changes that he made, and apparently to make the diamond drill under Greg Tech is even more costly. I don't know. I'm not even going to investigate. I'm not interested. I'm sorry. If you're playing with Greg Tech knowingly and willingly, I have faith that you're able to look, into it for yourself and find out exactly what you need to do to move up to the next step when you're ready. But for everyone else, mining drill, I love this. As soon as I found out there was an electric drill that allowed me to have like a pickaxe without ever having to replace it, that was like, wow, I'm all over that. Once you've got the mining drill, all you need to do is pull up 3 diamonds, combine it with the mining drill, and you've got a diamond drill, which is basically the equivalent of a diamond pickaxe that never breaks. It's awesome. I absolutely love it. It's one of the tools that I gun for at the beginning of every world. I mean, I get down to the bedrock, I start finding the diamonds, and as soon as I've got those diamonds, this is one of the first things that I'm thinking about making is the diamond drill, just because you then never have to worry about what you're trying to drill or what the durability is left on your tools, especially in the early game where you're not really swimming in resources, not having to keep spending iron ingots on iron picks and all that other stuff. Love it. Absolutely love it. And the same goes for the chainsaw. Now, again, this is the advanced chainsaw, so we're going to pull up the recipe for the regular chainsaw. Now, there's a problem with the sounds with Industrial Craft 2 right now. They tend to make things crash. So I've got them disabled. In a perfect situation, when you have this selected on your hotbar and you can see your character holding it in his hand, you actually hear the motor of the chainsaw when you're running around, which is kind of fun sometimes and really, really irritating the rest of the time. So this is basically the same material requirement as the drill, just in a different configuration. 5 refined iron bars, the electronic circuit, and the battery. And again, this is whenever you need wood, you don't have to worry about whether or not your axe is going to break. You just have to worry about whether or not you've got the power to keep this guy going. Chainsaws are great fun. And they also double as a sword. That's one of the things that I probably missed with the drill. The drill doubles as a pick and a shovel. So actually, let's... is it day? No, it's night. If the day swings around before we're done here, I'll take you out and show you what the drill does to sand. It's actually kind of funny. The chainsaw doubles as a sword. So the nice thing about it is it frees up space on your hotbar. You don't have to worry about having a sword and a shovel and a pick and an axe and all these other things. All you really need is the drill and the chainsaw, and you're good to go. So that covers the tools themselves. But if all you're doing is charging the tools and then running out and using them, you're going to be spending a lot of time running back to your base to recharge them. So we want to talk about the mobile power solutions. Now, let's see here. Do I have anything that needs a charge? Yes, this. If I want to charge anything, that's one of the reasons why I like the bat box, is because it does have a slot here. I can put... Oh, it won't take the advanced drill. Normally, I would be able to put a tool or a bat pack or something in this slot here, and it will draw power from the bat box and recharge whatever I put in this slot. That's what this slot is for. This one is if you've got like a battery or something, you can put it in here and it'll charge the bat box. The top one is for recharging your tools or whatever. So we don't really want to be just relying on the power reserves that come with the tools themselves. It's better to have the mobile option that you equip in your chest armor slot. And the first one that you're going to be looking at is the bat pack. It's not necessarily expensive to make. It's 6 rechargeable batteries. Like I say, there's been a rechargeable battery in every one of the tools that we've made so far. So this isn't new. The circuit's not new. A tin ingot. This is all stuff that we're familiar with. gives you the backpack, which holds up to 60,000 EU, which is basically 5 times what most of the power tools hold, 5 to 6 times. So that's sort of extending the length of time that you can be using the tools in the field before you have to run back and recharge them. So the way it works basically is that as soon as you use a tool which causes it to deplete its charge by any amount, the backpack will automatically funnel power into the tool. So it's not like this thing drains and then you have to do something with the backpack to recharge it. It basically, it's the simplest way to describe it is to say it draws power from the backpack first. And that's usually one of your indications when you've got a backpack or a lap pack or whatever, and you notice that the power bar on your tool is starting to deplete. That's your hint that the backpack is empty, because there's no more power for it to draw from here, so it starts drawing from here. When you've got the resources, you can move up to the lap pack, which is similar concept, not really all that expensive in terms of materials to make. It's this guy here, but it holds 5 times the power. It holds 300,000 EU, and you take your backpack, your advanced circuit, with the glowstone, lapis lazuli, 4 redstone, and the electronic circuit, and 6 lapis lazuli blocks, which if you're mining along the bedrock, coming up with enough lapis is not really that difficult for this. The key consideration for this, however, is that this is holding up to 300,000 EU. This bat box only holds 40,000, so it's good to keep this in mind as something that you're going to advance to in the future, but you'll also have to continue to advance your infrastructure, your generation, and your storage capabilities so that you can actually keep these tools charged. So the lap pack is the next step up from the battery pack, and then you can get into things like the advanced lap pack, which holds 1 million EU, and the ultimate lap pack, which holds 10 million EU. It's basically like walking around with an MFSU strapped to your back. So there's definitely solutions to be running around in the field. There's a very popular podcast where people use lasers and things like that, but they don't use lap packs or anything, and then their lasers are always out of power. Some of you may have seen it. I would rather have a bat pack or a lap pack than chest armor, quite frankly, for the amount of use that chest armor actually provides for me. And there's one other thing, and I'm most over it right now. I consider this a tool because it's just so damn handy, and that's the electric jetpack. And I'm just going to give you a demonstration, the practical demonstration of the benefits of an electric jetpack. Now, first of all, I'll offer you some tips on how to use this guy. It doesn't protect you from fall damage. You can get boots that protect you from fall damage, but if you're just running around in your iron boots or your leather boots or whatever, you can still die from falling too far. So with the electric jetpack, what I find is that you just want to maintain an altitude. You're just kind of pulsing it. You're kind of bobbing up and down, and it takes a little bit of practice. But then when you want to land, you just kind of let yourself fall and then pulse it as you get closer to the ground to kind of slow your descent. Now, you may think, geez, that was kind of no-brainer. You'd be surprised. I'm just trying to save some people some unnecessary deaths. In fact, I would say the first time you build an electric jetpack, if you've never used one before, take all of your gear off, take all of your stuff out of your inventory, put it in a chest except for the electric jetpack, and then practice with it right outside your facility, right near your spawn, so that if you do die, it's not a big deal. You can grab your jetpack and keep trying. But one of the things that I like to do with this, in addition to traveling and not having to jump up every little step and every little hill, is logging. Because you can come along like this, find the middle of the tree, and go after the tree from the top down. It is so much faster and easier than going from the bottom up. Assuming you're not using Treecapitator or any of the forestry options to automatically log for you, this is probably my favorite way to log for anything. Now, while it's still daytime, as we're approaching the end here in our tool extravaganza, I told you I would show you what the advanced electric drill does to sand. And quite frankly, the advanced electric drill is faster than the diamond drill. Or sorry, the advanced diamond drill is faster than the diamond drill. But you don't notice it so much on dirt and sand. So you'll basically be doing the same thing with your diamond drill regardless. And that's just, I mean, you just sweep it back and forth and it clears it out for you. It's like Sand is, sand, dirt, gravel, very, very easy to gather. But sand actually seems to be one of the easiest. It just chews right through it. And netherrack as well. That's very important if you're looking at using a magma crucible to supply lava to your geothermal generator. Being able to gather netherrack is an asset. So there's one more thing I want to talk about, and think of this as a long-term goal, because in addition to the lap pack, this is one of those things where if all you've got is a geothermal generator and a bat box, you're not going to be able to keep it charged, and that's the mining laser. This guy, I don't really think there's a whole lot that I can do with it out here. I'll just show you a couple things. Same as the electric wrench, if you hold down the mode select key and right click, you can start cycling through the different modes. Now, I tend to use horizontal and long range the most. Horizontal, basically, wrong button. You select a block. So this block is the one that I'm selecting. So this is also selecting my horizontal plane like this. And sand is not really great for testing this because the blocks above it fall down. So let's find some dirt just over here. So we're selecting this guy here. This is the plane that it's going to follow along. You can see it follows a perfectly straight horizontal line along that plane and clears it out. And the nice thing, I like this, especially in the bedrock mining layer, is I can go along and very quickly clear out a place for me to run around later with the mining laser set to long range. See, now I can run around like this, and if you picture a bunch of cobblestone above me, I can set it to long range and basically mine out from the bottom up. And every once in a while, you will get the temporary sort of transparent world glitch. There's our mining facility down there. So that's one use for the mining laser, and then, like I say, the long range, you can clear out a tremendous amount of space in a short amount of time. But then you've got some of the more fun ones that are not really practical, but interesting none the least. Superheat, if you use it on sand, turns it to glass. I kind of like that. Scatter makes a huge freaking mess. You can see it just scatters all over, as the name implies. That actually went quite a ways. Is that the... Wow. Yeah, made a mess, basically. I don't use scatter. The only time that I consider using scatter is when I'm trying to clear out the area under level 5, all those little nooks and crannies and things of that nature. Realistically speaking, it uses too much power and is too uncontrollable to be practical for anything else. What else have we got? Explosive, not the least bit practical, but kind of fun nonetheless. You can see it's, making a mess of my desert here. My nice pristine desert will never be the same. What else have we got? Mining, this is basically the default mode. It's medium power, medium range, and it goes in whatever direction you specify. So if I go like that on an angle, it's going to bore on an angle. What do we got? Low focus is single. If you just want to mine one block at a time, sort of like a mining pick. Low focus is where it's at. Long range is the one we're talking about, horizontal, superheat. So those are the modes for the mining laser, but the thing is, this thing holds a maximum of 200,000 EU and goes through it very, very quickly depending on what mode you're using. So you want to be using it in conjunction with at least a lap pack, and you need the power infrastructure to be able to keep this and this charged. So as far as tools go, obviously there's more. We could talk about the Vajra, we could talk about the different quantum armor and the benefits that that offers in terms of a tool. You can see I've got the ultimate solar helmet, keeping all my stuff charged. That's episodes and episodes away. It's just not even realistic to be discussing it at this point because they're very, very expensive. So that's the tools episode. And the next episode, I think we're going to be talking about Mistcraft, because when Red Power 2 comes down, any of you who have started a world now and like it are going to have to create a Mistcraft world to get the ores that will be added with Red Power 2. So for example, Nikolite, I would expect will be making a return. The world that I've created here and my overworld has no Nikolite in it. So I'll be using a Mistcraft world to take care of that. So I want to make sure that if, Red Power comes out next week, you guys are prepared. So that's what we'll do in the next episode. We're going to talk about Mistcraft, how to get yourself squared away with a full notebook and everything that you need to make the worlds of your dreams. So I hope this was a helpful episode. If you want to be notified when I add the next episode, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel. Leave your comments below. We'll talk to you next time. Take care, guys.